A 3-year-old girl discovered a German shepherd in the rain. What she did next made everyone cry. The sound was barely there, a soft cry, hidden beneath concrete and chaos. What followed was a journey so unbelievable, even those who witnessed it struggled to explain it. This is the kind of story that hurts your heart, and then heals it. If you've ever doubted kindness, stay with us. This one's for you. Like, share, and subscribe for more. The rain was relentless that day. Thick gray clouds hung low over the small town, blotting out the sun and casting a dull gloom over everything. The steady, rhythmic patter of raindrops falling on leaves, rooftops, and puddles created a soothing yet somber symphony. Thunder rumbled softly in the distance, a muted growl reminding everyone to take shelter. Most people had retreated indoors, curling up with warm blankets or busying themselves with household tasks, waiting out the storm. But not 3-year-old Mia. Wrapped in a bright yellow raincoat and boots that were just a little too big for her tiny feet, she loved the rain. To her, it was magic, the way it sparkled on the grass, how the water pooled to make perfect jumping spots, and how the cold drops kissed her skin. She had ventured out into the backyard alone, carefully stepping between muddy puddles, eyes wide with wonder at the wet world around her. As the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of damp earth, Mia's sharp ears caught something unusual beneath the storm's usual chorus. It was a faint sound, almost swallowed by the rain, a soft whimper, a cry of distress that seemed too fragile to survive the downpour. Her heart skipped a beat, curiosity mixing with an inexplicable sense of urgency. Pausing, she strained to listen. There was again a quiet, trembling whimper, like the sound of someone in pain or scared. Despite her young age and fragile frame, Mia felt a sudden surge of determination welling up inside her. She didn't fully understand what she might find, but her tiny instincts told her to follow the sound, to help, to not turn away. With cautious steps, she moved forward, her rain boots squelching in the mud, her small hand reaching out instinctively to brush aside wet leaves and branches. The storm soaked her hair and ran down her cheeks, but Mia barely noticed. All her attention was focused on that vulnerable sound. Behind a thicket of bushes, she spotted it. A large, wet shape curled into a small ball, barely moving except for the occasional shudder. It was a dog, a German shepherd, soaked through, shivering in the cold rain, trapped in a state of exhaustion and fear. Its fur was matted, heavy with water, and its eyes, wide and pleading, met Mia's gaze with a silent plea for help. Mia's breath caught in her throat. The sight was heartbreaking. The dog looked so fragile, so scared, and yet there was something noble in its gaze, a fierce spirit dimmed but not broken. The little girl's chest rose and fell rapidly with both the chill of the rain and the warmth of compassion blossoming inside her young heart. She slowly knelt beside the dog, careful not to startle it. Her small fingers reached out tentatively, trembling slightly. The dog flinched at first, but as Mia whispered gentle sounds and extended her hand, the animal's tense muscles began to relax. In that shared moment of quiet understanding, the two formed an unspoken bond, one born out of vulnerability, courage, and a deep need to protect one another. The rain continued to fall around them, washing away the grime but never the pain the dog carried. Mia's mind raced, unsure what to do next. She was just a little girl. How could she possibly help this large, frightened creature? But she knew she couldn't leave it there, alone and cold. As she looked around, hoping for a sign or a helping hand, the weight of the moment pressed down on her tiny shoulders. The dog's whimpers grew softer, and for the first time since Mia had found it, a flicker of hope sparked in those big brown eyes. She reached for the dog's wet head, stroking it gently, her voice soft and steady despite her own trembling. "What happened to you, poor thing?" she whispered, tears mixing with raindrops on her face. The dog leaned into her touch, trusting the child with a heart too young to understand fear but brave enough to face it anyway. In that instant, time seemed to slow. The storm's fury dimmed in the background as the world focused on this small girl and the wounded dog who had found each other amidst the rain. No one watching from afar could have predicted what would come next. A series of events so powerful, so filled with courage and love, that it would touch hearts far beyond this rainy afternoon. But for now, the question hung heavy in the air. What would Mia do next? How would this tiny hero save the dog from its despair? And what would this simple act of kindness unleash? The rain kept falling. The storm kept raging. But in that quiet moment, a fragile light of hope began to shine. A promise that sometimes the smallest hands can change the biggest lives. Mia was just like any other 3-year-old, bright-eyed, endlessly curious, and filled with a natural kindness that seemed to glow from within. Her small world was one of simple joys, playing with blocks, chasing butterflies in the garden, and listening intently as her parents told her stories before bedtime. Living in a cozy little house on the edge of town, Mia's days were often punctuated by the soft sounds of rain tapping on windows or the occasional chirp of birds after a drizzle. Her parents, Laura and James, worked hard to provide a warm and safe environment. Though the neighborhood wasn't perfect, patches of rougher streets and scattered stray animals were common. The family had made a haven inside their home. Every corner was filled with love, laughter, and the comforting scent of fresh-baked bread from the kitchen. Mia's life was simple but full, anchored by the rhythm of everyday moments. Despite being so young, Mia showed a remarkable empathy towards animals. It wasn't uncommon to find her offering crumbs to sparrows or sitting quietly beside neighborhood cats that wandered close by. Her parents often marveled at this gentle spirit, seeing in her an innocence mixed with a profound understanding that sometimes went beyond her years. "She just knows," Laura would say softly, watching her daughter carefully stroke a stray kitten's fur. "She feels what others can't." In the neighborhood, stray dogs and cats were a familiar sight. Many were friendly but cautious, having learned to navigate the challenges of life without a permanent home. Others bore the scars of neglect or abandonment, wary of human touch yet yearning for kindness. The rainy weather often made these animals seek shelter wherever they could, under porches, behind bushes, or near the local shops that sometimes left out food. Among these wandering souls was a German shepherd whose story was shrouded in mystery. No one knew where she had come from or how she ended up alone, drenched and frightened in the relentless rain. Some neighbors whispered about a lost pet, others suspected abandonment, a cruel act by someone who could no longer care for her. Whatever the truth, the dog had been spotted around the neighborhood for weeks, her eyes reflecting a quiet desperation. The community's awareness of stray animals was a complicated mix. While many residents were sympathetic, the realities of safety concerns, especially for young children, often led to a wary distance. The local council had programs to address the stray population, but resources were limited, and winter rains only heightened the struggles of animals left to fend for themselves. Parents like Laura kept a watchful eye, warning children to be cautious but never discouraging kindness. For Mia, these stories of lost and injured animals were not just tales. They were real, living beings she could feel in her heart. She wasn't afraid of the rain, nor the muddy streets, nor the uncertain eyes of animals who had known hardship. Instead, she approached the world with open arms and an open heart, ready to offer comfort where it was needed most. The day she found the German shepherd, Mia's family was in the midst of their usual routine. Laura was preparing dinner while James helped Mia put on her raincoat, the sky already darkening with heavy clouds. The soft rumble of thunder was a familiar friend, a backdrop to the cozy home that stood strong against the elements. Yet, beyond their walls, the world was harsher. The rain had been falling steadily for days, turning streets slick and muddy. The dog's presence in this weather was a silent cry for help that went unnoticed by most, but not by Mia. Her curious nature and compassionate heart guided her footsteps toward the soft whimpers carried on the wind. In that moment, two worlds collided, the innocent bravery of a child and the battered hope of a lonely dog. Their bond, though fragile and unexpected, was a powerful reminder of the resilience of life and the profound connections that can be forged even in the darkest of storms. Mia's parents understood the significance of that day. They saw in their daughter's eyes a light that shone brighter than the rain-soaked skies, a light fueled by empathy, courage, and the purest form of love. It was a moment that would forever change their lives and ripple through the community, inspiring others to look beyond fear and see the hearts beating beneath the fur and skin. The neighborhood, with its mix of rough patches and quiet corners, was a place where stories like these often went untold. But this story was different. It was a story of hope, of a tiny girl's fearless spirit, and a German shepherd's second chance at life. Together, they would remind everyone that sometimes the smallest heroes make the biggest difference. As the rain continued to fall outside, the bond between Mia and the German shepherd began to grow, a bond that would carry them through the trials ahead and show the world the true meaning of compassion. The rain had been falling steadily all afternoon, turning the neighborhood streets into slick rivers and drenching everything in a heavy, gray mist. It was the kind of relentless storm that made even the toughest souls seek shelter. But for one German shepherd, the storm was just another hurdle in a cruel series of events that had left her alone, scared, and fighting for her life. Nobody knew exactly how she had come to be in such a desperate state. Some neighbors whispered stories of abandonment, how someone might have cruelly discarded their loyal companion when they could no longer care for her. Others believed she was a lost dog, separated from her family by the sudden storm, disoriented and confused by the unfamiliar streets and the ominous crackling of thunder overhead. Perhaps she had been chased off or frightened by a loud noise, or maybe she had simply wandered too far while searching for shelter. From the dog's perspective, the world had shrunk into a blur of pounding rain and biting cold. Each step was a struggle against the deepening mud, the sharp sting of cold water soaking her soaked fur, and the sharp edges of a broken fence she had unwittingly tangled herself in. Barbed wire had caught in her coat, tearing at her skin, adding pain and fear to her exhaustion. But still, she moved on, driven by a primal will to survive. The night closed in around her like a heavy blanket, dark and unyielding. She found refuge under an old wooden shed, curling into a tight ball to conserve what little warmth remained. But the cold seeped in, the pain from the wounds sharp and unforgiving. Her breath came out in ragged puffs, each one a small victory against the overwhelming fatigue threatening to take her away. Meanwhile, across the neighborhood, whispers began to circulate. "Have you seen the dog wandering in the rain? I think someone's lost their German shepherd." Posters appeared on telephone poles and local shops. Photos of a beautiful, strong dog with kind eyes now filled with pain and confusion. Families talked in hushed voices, worried about the poor animal trapped in the storm. Search parties were quietly organized, neighbors stepping out into the wet night with flashlights, calling softly for the dog who might be listening somewhere in the darkness. Mia's family, meanwhile, remained unaware of the growing concern. Their home was warm and safe, a comforting refuge from the wild storm outside. Her parents busied themselves with everyday chores, trying to keep normalcy amidst the weather's fury. The local news spoke briefly of missing pets and dangerous conditions, but the true danger lurking in their own backyard had not yet been discovered. But as the hours passed, the German shepherd's situation grew more desperate. Her injuries from the barbed wire had worsened, her energy drained by the cold and hunger. The relentless rain made it impossible to find warmth or comfort. Yet even in her pain and fear, A flicker of hope remained alive, a hope that somewhere out there, someone would hear her soft whimpers and come to her aid. The community's reaction to the dog's plight was slow but growing. Concern turned into urgency as the night deepened and no one had yet found her. Neighbors shared stories about seeing a dog wandering alone, shivering and wet. There were rumors she had been spotted near the old playground, a place filled with hidden dangers like broken fences and tangled wires. The thought that such a gentle soul was trapped and suffering in that cruel place tugged at the hearts of those who heard the tale. Back at Mia's house, her curious spirit was already stirring. Though she was just a little girl, her sensitivity to the world around her made her notice things others overlooked. The sound of soft whimpering, barely audible beneath the drum of the rain, pulled at her attention. It was a sound filled with sadness and fear, a plea from a creature in need. The storm showed no sign of relenting as the night dragged on. The dog's struggle was becoming more than just a physical battle. It was a fight to hold on to hope, to fight against despair, and to trust that help would come. The cold rain was harsh, the pain unending, but the dog's spirit, though battered, refused to break. This ordeal, both heartbreaking and inspiring, set the stage for the extraordinary moment when Mia's innocence and bravery would meet the dog's desperate need. What started as a simple curiosity in the rain was about to change two lives forever. The rain hammered down in thick sheets, blurring the edges of the world into a watery haze. The steady rhythm of droplets splattering against leaves and pavement was the only sound, broken occasionally by distant rumbles of thunder rolling through the heavy gray sky. It was on this dismal afternoon, under the relentless downpour, that little Mia's small figure emerged, determined and unafraid, stepping cautiously outside her front door. Wrapped in a bright yellow raincoat that seemed almost too big for her tiny frame, Mia was a splash of color against the somber, wet backdrop. Her small boots splashed through puddles, each step a bold adventure in the storm. Though only 3 years old, there was a spark in her eyes, a mix of innocence and an unusual resolve. She wasn't just wandering, she was searching. Drawn by faint, trembling whimpers barely audible beneath the roar of the storm, Mia's attention sharpened. The sound tugged at her heart, pulling her closer to the edge of the backyard, where tangled bushes and muddy earth met the back fence. The rain made everything slippery and treacherous, but Mia pressed on, undeterred by the cold water soaking through her clothes or the muddy ground sucking at her boots. The closer she got, the clearer the sounds became. There, half hidden beneath a thorny bush, she saw it, the German shepherd. The dog was shivering violently, soaked through to the skin, her fur matted and heavy with water. But worse than the cold and rain were the cruel barbs of the wire twisted tightly around her legs and torso, cutting into her skin, making every breath and movement a painful struggle. The dog's eyes flicked toward Mia, wide, scared, and filled with both fear and hope. The animal was weak, barely able to lift her head, yet somehow she seemed to sense that this small human, this fragile child, was there to help. Mia's heart pounded, not with fear but with a fierce desire to comfort the hurting creature before her. Her tiny hands reached out carefully, trembling from cold and excitement. She gently stroked the dog's soaked fur, whispering soft sounds she didn't quite understand but hoped would bring peace. The dog's trembling slowed just slightly, her breathing eased as if comforted by the child's innocent touch. The rain showed no mercy, drenching them both, yet Mia refused to retreat. The muddy ground beneath them was slippery and cold, but the little girl crouched beside the dog, using all her limited strength to untangle the cruel barbs. Each twist of wire was a painful battle, and Mia's fingers were scratched and sore by the time the first knot gave way. But the dog's trust gave her courage beyond her years. From inside the house, Mia's mother had noticed her absence and rushed outside, worry etched deep across her face. When she saw Mia kneeling beside the soaked, injured German shepherd, her breath caught in her throat. Tears blurred her vision as she took in the heartbreaking sight. A little girl no older than 3, braving the rain and mud to save a creature so much larger and in so much pain. Her husband appeared moments later, grabbing towels and a first aid kit. Together, they gently wrapped the dog in blankets, trying to warm her shivering body. Mia clung tightly to the dog's head, whispering words of comfort that seemed to calm the animal despite the evident pain. The family moved quickly but carefully, carrying the injured German shepherd inside out of the storm. The house, once warm and familiar, became a sanctuary, a place where hope was reborn alongside the sound of dripping rain from sodden coats. The dog's breathing grew steadier as warmth returned to her body. Mia stayed close, never leaving the dog's side, her small hand always reaching out to offer comfort. The emotional weight of the moment was palpable. Neighbors passing by stopped to watch, some shedding tears, all in awe of the child's fearless compassion. Neighbors gathered, some calling local vets, others offering blankets and food. The community was united by this remarkable act. A tiny girl's courage in the face of a merciless storm had brought a ray of hope where despair had been growing. The first aid began with careful cleaning of the wounds where the barbed wire had bitten into the dog's flesh. Painful as it was, the German shepherd tolerated the treatments with a gentle acceptance, as if she knew that this was the beginning of something better. Mia's parents handled her with tender hands, but it was Mia's presence that seemed to soothe the animal's spirit. Through the long night, the storm continued to rage, but inside that small house, there was calm. A fragile new bond had been forged in the rain, born of bravery and love. The German shepherd, once trapped and terrified, was now safe. And Mia, the tiny hero with the big heart, had changed everything with her courage. As dawn broke, the rain finally ceased, leaving behind a fresh, clean world glistening under the early sun. The dog rested quietly, wrapped warmly and cared for. Mia sat beside her, head resting gently on the soft fur, whispering stories only a child could tell, stories of friendship, hope, and second chances. The rescue was far from over, but the hardest part was done. What had started as a whisper in the rain had blossomed into an unforgettable story of courage, a story that would inspire everyone who heard it, proving that even the smallest among us can be the greatest heroes. After the frantic and courageous rescue, the German shepherd's journey to recovery began in earnest. The first step was a visit to the local veterinary clinic, where the dog was gently examined by compassionate professionals who quickly realized the severity of her condition. Soaked to the bone and weak from the cruel barbed wire wounds, she required immediate medical attention. The vet carefully cleaned the deep cuts and treated the infected areas, administering pain relief and antibiotics. The dog's golden eyes, once full of fear and desperation, now showed faint flickers of trust as the clinic staff worked around her. But it was clear she needed more than just medical care. She needed patience, kindness, and love to heal the scars that medicine alone couldn't touch. Back home, Mia became the dog's constant companion and gentle nurse. Despite her tender age, she intuitively understood the importance of calm presence and soft words. Every day after her naps and meals, Mia would sit beside the dog, stroking her fur with the delicate care only a child could offer. Sometimes she'd softly sing little songs she had learned, her voice barely above a whisper, but somehow enough to ease the dog's restlessness and anxiety. The bond between Mia and the German shepherd deepened with each passing day. The dog, who had once trembled at every sudden sound, began to relax in the warmth of Mia's touch. The fear slowly gave way to trust, and trust blossomed into a comforting companionship. Mia's innocent bravery had not only saved the dog's life but had also opened a path for healing that touched everyone around them. However, the emotional wounds ran deep for both. The dog's trauma was evident. Sometimes she would flinch at sudden movements or shy away from raised voices. Mia, too, showed signs of having absorbed some of the fear and tension from that stormy day. She was quieter, more cautious, often gazing toward the backyard with a mix of curiosity and concern. Her parents noticed these changes and made sure to nurture her emotional well-being, reassuring her with love and gentle conversations. Their family routines shifted subtly to accommodate the needs of the new and fragile member. Daily walks became careful, slow-paced excursions as the dog regained her strength. Feeding times included special nutritious meals prescribed by the vet to support healing. Mia's parents divided responsibilities, ensuring the dog was never left alone for long, while also encouraging Mia's involvement in simple caregiving tasks, fostering a sense of responsibility and empathy in their little girl. Neighbors and community members heard about the rescue and rallied around the family. Some brought blankets and food, others offered assistance or simply came by to check on the dog's progress. The story of Mia's bravery and the dog's resilience spread, sparking conversations about the importance of kindness to animals and vigilance in caring for vulnerable creatures. The community's growing awareness translated into positive actions. Local animal shelters saw increased donations, and neighborhood groups organized educational sessions on animal welfare and safety during harsh weather. Mia's story became a beacon of hope and a call to action, reminding everyone that even the smallest voices could inspire significant change. As weeks turned into months, the German Shepherd's health steadily improved. The wounds healed, leaving only faint scars, and her coat regained its natural sheen, soft and glossy once more. More importantly, her spirit healed. She began to play gently with Mia, chasing after tossed balls and resting her head on the girl's lap as if in silent gratitude. Mia's parents watched with pride and relief as their daughter's gentle heart blossomed alongside the dog's recovery. They knew that this shared journey of healing had forever changed their lives, weaving a story of courage, love, and resilience that would remain etched in their family history. In the quiet moments, when the rain tapped softly against the windows and the dog lay curled beside Mia's bed, there was a profound sense of peace. The storm had passed, but the love and bond that grew in its wake were enduring and unbreakable. Together, Mia and the German Shepherd had discovered not only healing but a friendship that would carry them through whatever storms lay ahead. News of the brave little girl who discovered the drenched and trembling German Shepherd quickly spread far beyond their quiet neighborhood. It began with a simple video, a neighbor's shaky cell phone footage capturing the moment Mia cradled the frightened dog in her tiny arms, rain pouring down around them. The video was raw and unfiltered, showing pure, innocent courage in the face of desperation. Soon, it was shared on social media platforms, retweeted, liked, and commented on by thousands of strangers who felt their hearts tugged by this small act of heroism. As the story gained momentum, news outlets picked it up, eager to spotlight the touching tale. Reporters interviewed Mia's family, neighbors, and the veterinarians who had cared for the dog. Each interview revealed more about the girl's extraordinary kindness and the dog's miraculous recovery. Viewers around the world watched, many moved to tears, not just by the rescue itself but by the pure connection between the child and the animal, a reminder of hope and humanity in a sometimes harsh world. The emotional reaction was immediate and overwhelming. People shared stories of their own pets and rescues, often accompanied by photos and videos, creating a wave of empathy and inspiration that rippled across the internet. Messages flooded in from strangers offering support, sharing prayers, and expressing admiration for Mia's bravery. Some recounted similar experiences, where small acts of kindness had changed the course of a life, human or animal. The story did more than touch hearts. It sparked conversations about the importance of helping vulnerable animals. Animal welfare groups used the moment to raise awareness about stray dogs and the dangers they face during harsh weather. Campaigns were launched to encourage communities to look out for animals in need and to provide safe shelters during storms. Mia's story became a powerful symbol for child heroism, demonstrating that courage and compassion are not bound by age. Inspired by the viral rescue, people everywhere began to take action. Volunteers stepped forward to help at local shelters, donors contributed funds for animal care, and families became more mindful of their pets' safety and well-being. Schools introduced lessons on empathy and responsibility toward animals, using Mia's story as a teaching moment. The ripple effect of her bravery extended well beyond that rainy day, touching countless lives in unexpected ways. Among the many voices sharing their admiration were neighbors who had witnessed the rescue unfold firsthand. They spoke of their astonishment and pride at seeing such a tiny child face fear with determination and love. Rescuers recounted the challenges they had overcome in nursing the dog back to health and praised Mia's role in making that recovery possible. Every testimonial underscored the profound impact of a single moment of kindness. Mia's family, while overwhelmed by the attention, embraced it with humility and gratitude. For them, the story was never about fame but about saving a life and the unspoken bond that had formed between a child and a dog. They shared how the experience had changed their outlook on compassion and community, reminding them of the power of simple actions. The spotlight brought support but also a deepened sense of responsibility to advocate for animal welfare and child safety. Through all the media coverage, social media buzz, and public acclaim, one thing remained clear: the rescue was a testament to the extraordinary within the ordinary. A 3-year-old's innocent courage had become a beacon of hope and kindness that resonated worldwide. It reminded everyone watching that even the smallest voices have the power to make a profound difference. As the story continued to inspire millions, Mia's family hoped it would serve as a lasting call to action. They encouraged viewers to look closely at the world around them, to act when they see injustice or suffering, and to believe that compassion can change lives. The viral rescue was not just a moment frozen in time. It was a movement, a heartfelt plea for empathy in a fast-paced world. In the quiet aftermath of the media storm, life for Mia and the German Shepherd settled into a peaceful rhythm. Yet, the echoes of their story carried on in messages of hope and bravery shared across continents. They had become a symbol, proof that love and courage, no matter how small, can shine brightly enough to illuminate even the darkest storms. Reflecting on the incredible journey of Mia, the brave 3-year-old girl, it's impossible not to be moved by how her courage and compassion changed lives. Not just that of the soaked and shivering German Shepherd she found, but of everyone who heard her story. In a world often filled with chaos and challenges, Mia's innocent bravery serves as a powerful reminder that even the smallest among us can make a monumental difference. It was her pure heart and fearless spirit that sparked a chain of events leading to hope, healing, and a renewed faith in kindness. Since that rainy day, Mia's family has devoted themselves to the care and recovery of the German Shepherd, now a cherished member of their household. The dog, once lost and vulnerable, thrives under their loving watch, its scars slowly fading as it learns to trust again. For Mia and her family, this experience has created new bonds and transformed their lives in ways they could never have imagined. They have embraced the responsibility of nurturing this rescued soul while planning for a future filled with hope and continued compassion. But Mia's story is more than just one child's act of kindness. It's a call to all of us to open our eyes to the small acts of bravery that happen every day around us. Whether it's a child showing empathy, a neighbor helping a stray, or a simple gesture of kindness, these moments matter. They build a world where compassion isn't the exception but the rule. This story invites viewers to look beyond themselves, to act when they see suffering, and to believe deeply in the power of love to heal wounds, seen and unseen. As you watch and listen, Remember that courage and kindness come in many forms. You don't have to be a hero in the traditional sense to make an impact. Sometimes, it's the quiet, gentle actions, the reaching out to help a struggling animal, the standing up for what's right, the offering of a comforting hand, that create the biggest waves of change. Mia's bravery shows us that age, size, or circumstance do not limit the strength of the human spirit. This is why supporting animal rescue, protecting those who cannot protect themselves, and nurturing empathy in our communities is so vital. Each one of us has the power to make the world a safer, kinder place. Let Mia's story inspire you to take that first step, to notice, to care, and to act. Because when we do, we keep alive the spirit of compassion that defines our humanity. So, as this story comes to a close, let it be a beginning, a spark lighting the way forward. A reminder that hope is found in the heart of a child, in the wag of a dog's tail, and in the kindness we offer to those in need. Let us carry that hope with us and share it freely, so that together, we can build a world where every voice is heard, every life is valued, and every act of bravery is celebrated. Thank you for joining us on this journey. May Mia's courage and the German Shepherd's healing touch your heart and inspire you to believe in the extraordinary power of compassion.